These are the tools that we use to make all of our obstacles. We use decking lumber, which is about 3/4 inch by 6 inches wide, for all the decking on top of every one of the structures. For the side and the end post and the corners, we use 4x4 timbers for those, 8 or 10 feet long, depending on how long we're going to need them. And then for all of the traction cleats, we use a 1/2 inch by 1 inch treated lumber like this. We buy them in 8-foot lengths and 16 to a bundle. In using these tools, we find it's very beneficial to have a battery-powered tool. We can drill holes in the wood here, and again, all the wood we use is treated. We use wood deck screws for this, typically 2 inches long, to hold on the decking platform. We also use a power driver to run the screws in, and you'll find that that really comes in handy. Now, we'll have pre-drilled the holes in the end of the decking lumber. I don't have a hole here, but these power drivers like this work terrific on driving the screws, or in a minute you'll see in driving the lag bolts. Again, these are 2-inch decking lumber screws, and we always pre-drill the holes so we don't split the lumber whenever we drive the screw in tight. Now, after we've finished putting the decking lumber on the wooden frame, we're then going to put the 4x4 timbers on the corners. Those are also, as I mentioned, treated. We have an adapter that you can buy to go in the power driver that allows you to put 3/8-inch sockets on the power driver, and it has plenty of capability to drive the lag bolts in. Again, we pre-drilled the holes. We typically drill through the decking lumber a smaller diameter than the lag bolt and drill it about 1.5 inches into the post so that it has plenty of room to go in there, but it's not too tight. At the very last, we'll also take a ratchet and tighten up the lag bolts. You'll find in some cases, if you use the power driver, it'll drive hard enough and tight enough to snap even the lag bolts. So we always leave just a little bit of looseness on the washer and then use the ratchet to tighten it up. Again, the power tools are a really big plus, including the drills. Makes things work much quicker and much easier. We don't have string electric cord out there and so forth. Another tool that's really quite helpful are these newer type of clamps. You just pinch it and it clamps up. We use those quite a bit sometimes when we're putting things together. And one of the most important things is to make sure that you have it square at the corners. If you don't, then your decking lumber won't come out even along the side. So we always use a framing square, and we're very careful to square up the top of the deck, which is the decking lumber, and the 2x4s underneath it, and make sure that everything is squared up, and we put our 4x4 corners in. One thing we do is we put the 2x4s on the side. We always use a premium wood glue. We don't glue the decking lumber on, but we glue the side 2x4s onto the 4x4s. It's kind of an extra addition to just make sure that we've got a good bond, and the glue like that will hold very well. One of the things we also do is try to make sure that we have good traction on the equipment. It simplifies us in many cases to use the roofing material. In other cases, we use the no-skid grains that you can buy in a home improvement store. It's basically a sand. As long as you drop that on while either the stain or the paint is still wet, the paint or the stain will soak up around that sand and give you a very good traction surface. So sometimes we use the roofing material, sometimes we use the cleats and roofing material together, and other times we use just the sand. The sand works better to give them traction at any point that they're put their foot down. Now, additionally, we make the sway bridges, and one of the things you have to do is make sure that the slats on the sway bridge are separated about 1/2 inch. You can either use white PVC, which is water PVC, or water pipes, or you can use the gray, which is used for electrical conduit. The gray is a little thicker, and it makes a very good spacer, 1/2 inch. We cut those spacers in the saw over here, the miter saw. But one thing you have to be very careful is move that saw very slow as you go through the conduit, because otherwise the saw grips too much, it'll shatter, and those pieces fly out, and they're kind of dangerous. You don't want to get hit by that. So just take your time, move it through slowly. You'll get a good clean cut, and it's very simple to go on ahead and just make your spacers that way, because I don't know of anything you can buy for the spacers, although there may be something. Good clean cut on the ends if you move through it slow. Now, in the early years when we made all this equipment, we used stain. But over the years, the stain begins to degrade, even though we'd stain it every 2 years, and it would allow the wood to weather too much. And so what we've done is, in recent years, when we refurbish the equipment, we go ahead and use paint. We go in the home improvement store and go by the paint mixing area. If they have some paint that's a color that we can use or tolerate, that's a good exterior paint, we'll go ahead and buy that because they sell it much, much cheaper. Now, this is just regular roofing paper. You can buy it in the home improvement place. It comes in about, I don't know, probably 20-foot rolled up links, maybe a little bit more than 20 foot. It's got very good grip surface, and as it deteriorates over the years, you can replace it. Then this has got a jump platform at the bottom. You'll see that the dogs hop up on that and then leap through a ring. If they didn't have good traction, they couldn't jump through this circle hole at the top. Now, this piece of equipment we're going to have to refurbish in the spring, so it looks a little bit weathered and stuff, but you can see, watch Joey. He gets really fine traction when he goes up off that bottom down there, whether they're going up through the hole or coming down through the hole. It's plywood on the top, 30-inch circle that we've cut in there, and we've taken a rasp and smoothed off the edges so there's nothing that's going to stick them. You can see the 2x4s on the side and the lag bolts that go in here to make sure that we've got this square and we push it up. One of the most important things is to ensure that you don't have a barrier that many times somebody puts at the bottom of the legs of something to give it more support. You don't want anything that the dogs are going to run into. You want them to be able to freely run through there and zoom around and have fun. So what we do is we brace it, double brace on the corner, and then underneath we put another angle brace in there, 45 degrees, so that we've got a very good stability bracing on every one of the legs. Leah says she's kind of bored here. She wants to do something. But anyway, we also put 2x4s that go across the center underneath there. You'll see that's a little close up at the side. The decking lumber will not hold at that length with any weight on it. It'll sway, so we always put those 2x4s across there if it's more than about 3 or 4 feet in between. In the center we had one big post to add extra support, and we never cement in the post. We level all the platforms as good as possible, and then lift it and put a 2-inch solid concrete block in there. This side here is plywood, treated plywood that we painted, and you can see the dogs have a little hole. They can go in here and then they can go into the tunnel. And tunnel entrance is plywood also. The side is plywood. The roofing material we use is, I think they call it Cordoba roofing material. It's a flex. You can get it in brown or gray or this kind of red color and so forth in most home improvement stores, either Lowe's, Home Improvement, or Home Depot. At the end, I've cut a piece of plywood into an arch so that I can form that Cordoba over the top of that. Okay. Now here's a larger seesaw. You will see that there are no cleats, but there's a lot of sand that we've sprinkled into the paint whenever it was still quite wet. This gives the dogs good traction no matter where they're at on that, and especially in the seesaw that's important, because sliding with their foot, sliding into a cleat, is not the best thing for their feet. So you can see they go across it. Now the dogs here are on, these are big drainage concrete pipes. We've stained them with concrete stain so it stays in there very well. Otherwise they're just a concrete color. We had to get a contractor come out and lift and put it up. This is the swinging tunnel, the barrel tunnel. We got two 55-gallon drums, cut the ends out and rolled the edges back, put indoor-outdoor carpet glued inside so they get good traction. To connect the barrels together, we bought some straps that you can get at Home Improvement. And the bolts, it's a little tricky to get that done, but put 3 of them at equal angles. Here's a ramp that has the roofing material on it. They get real good traction going up at this. As it ages, we can take it out. The ramp is 3 foot wide, so you don't have to do any cutting on the tar paper. It works real well. This ramp is a little steeper, so we've got cleats and the roofing material. Roofing material, if you've never cut it, turn it over on the back and let the knife just glide along the black tar surface on the inside. Then fold it on that crack and it'll pop apart pretty easy. This is the baffle tunnel, 2x4s vertically all the way down the middle, and those panels that you see there are masonite. It's about 1/4 inch thick masonite, which is very tightly pressed wood material. We paint that so that it stands up under the weather. You can see the inside of the roofing material there as Joey goes around. Here it is on the outside. It makes it much easier. You can string that along there, put cleat material along there, that red wood, and put screws on it so you can take it off and replace it. This is one of the dog's favorite things. It's their observation tower. They race up on that. It's got the roofing material on both ends. This is the crawl tunnel, or something that they can go through. The netting on the side is typically at the home improvement stores that they use to stop erosion at construction sites so the water doesn't carry things off. These are 16-inch by 16-inch, 3-inch paving bricks. They make good stepping stones. These, we have our own water well, you have to in the country, so these are the water well cover structures that you can buy. We just bought 3 of them and put here because they make good little stands for the dog. Colored concrete put here for the dog's exercise and training area.